Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, it's a little bit of a different thing we're doing. This is the Hot Toys Venom, from the first movie. I guess the new one's not out yet. This isn't my figure. My brother let me borrow it because he got it, and he was like, you want to review it? And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll review it. So that's why I don't have the box. He has it. I figured you guys don't really need to see the box. But it is a very cool looking figure. There's some really good stuff going on here. Not surprising, it is a Hot Toys figure. But then there's also some stuff that's not the best thing I've ever seen. That's for sure. So we're going to dive into all of it. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. So this guy stands... He's taller than your average guy because he's Venom. He's about, he's just shy of 15 centimeters as he's posed, which is going to make 15 inches, 15 centimeters, 15 inches, which is going to make him just about 38 centimeters. So he does have some size to him. Here he is up against a Marvel Legends Darwin. And now you know how big he is. All right, now question of the day. For those of you who collect this scale, and even those of you who do not, which side of the fence are you on? On which side of the fence are you? Is what I should have said. Seamless bodies, as few joints showing as possible, or do you just want the joints? Because they're action figures anyway, and you'd rather it work better. That's where I would fall. But this guy's kind of like a little bit on the fence. He's a little bit of both. So let's go ahead and get into it. First things first, the aesthetic. I love the finish they did for the body. He's mostly black, but he has like this little bit of like purpley blue, midnight blue pearl coat. Just not everywhere, but in some places. I wish it was a little bit more consistent because it's pretty heavy on the body and not so much on the arms and legs, but it is still there. And depending on your lighting and how you're looking at him, he looks freaking cool. I really, really like that. They did, of course, paint his veiny tendrils. Those are sculpted as well. And they did a good job, and they have kind of like a silvery pearl. They kind of look like they're glowing, but not really. Depends on, maybe if you don't have studio lighting, it doesn't do that. But it looks really nice because there is a little bit of a metallic finish to them, and they look super duper good. Sculpt, by the way, throughout is awesome. I think they nailed the sculpt. That's wonderful, except I'm not in love with this closed mouth head. It looks a little bit too peanutty. Like the mouth is a little too pinched in and weird looking. And so I don't know, maybe I'm just remembering wrong, but it looks a little bit strange to me. You guys can let me know what you think. It's a little here. It's a little bit, just a little bit too narrow and kind of weird looking for me, but maybe that's right and I could be remembering wrong. But they did a wonderful job of painting the eyes. I love the way they have that done. And then the mouth itself, like the teeth and gums, sculpted, painted wonderfully. Very, very pleased with that. So overall, I think the aesthetic is pretty darn good, especially if you swap on one of the other heads, or the other head, which I'll show you in a minute. This is a really nice looking figure. He manages to even make the alien Tootsies not look so bad. So if you're into that sort of thing, then this figure's right up your alley. So aesthetically speaking, I do think it's really good. I'm going to give it about a 9 out of 10. Yeah, there's a little bit of room for improvement, but it's pretty darn clean. Now, as far as accessories go, you already saw the closed mouth head. There is an open mouth head, and I think this is just wonderful. I would never ever display this thing not using this head. The eyes look even better, the mouth looks even better, and it has 3 interchangeable tongues, so there's no reason not to use this. That's just a great, great accessory. As far as hands go, you get the 2 fist hands, 1 pointing finger hand, 1 kind of clenchy hand, and then the 2 wide open hands. Plenty of options there. You do get an alternate tendril hand. Essentially, it pops on where the hands go, so that's really cool. You get one that looks like the axe, and then you get one that is not a hand, it's just his big old blade type thing, so that's really cool. And then lastly, he has some ports on his back. You get a few different tendril options. You get 1 tendril that comes with 2 tendrils and a head. You get one that is just a head. And you get another one that is just a head with the tongue coming out. And then you get one that's just a couple more tendrils. So you could really put them to use on this guy if you so choose. They are all bendy, so that's pretty great. And he does get his display stand, which is standard Hot Toys fare. It looks good enough. It's okay. The only thing I can see him needing that he doesn't have is an Eddie Brock, like half and half type of head. And I don't get why that's not included other than costs and licensing fees. So I don't know what happened there really, but it would have been nice either way. 9 out of 10 for accessories. That's a pretty good spread of accessories. Now, Let's talk about the articulation. It is kind of an oversuit body, or whatever you want to call it. It's rubber. It's some kind of, it feels like rubber. It feels like it feels like a very soft plastic, not a silicone. I'm not sure what they use. Honestly, it feels kind of like PVC. Anyway, the head you already saw, it's a magnetic connection. It has a soft little felty inside, and obviously that allows you to move it around pretty nicely on top of the neck. That works well. The neck itself, I don't know if it's meant to lean side to side. It has some wiggle, but it doesn't hold. Going forward and back, there's a ratchet in there, so it does hold a little bit, but there's very little actual adjustment. It's just two notches. Well, wait. So 3 positions, 2 different notches, and it works well enough, but it's not great. We've seen better of similar types of necks. For the shoulders, there's an actual cut here, so that shouldn't be an issue at all. You can raise the arm only that far, though. Not all the way horizontal. That's a little bit of a bummer. There is a ball peg that lets the arm wiggle around in there. You're going to get your full rotation, of course. Nothing special there. Bicep swivel is going to be a little bit strange because the whole arm is one solid thing. So do we get a bicep swivel? Yes, technically, it moves underneath the arm skin, but the skin's pretty thick and not that flexible, so it doesn't actually have that much range. It's pretty limited. If you bend the elbow, you'll see, like, it's better than not having it, but it's not really doing a whole lot for you. Speaking of not doing a whole lot for you, the elbow. You're gonna get about 90 degrees. Yeah, even when you go a little bit farther, it's just better than 90, so it's pretty limited. And the folding is definitely questionable. Because of the looseness in the elbow, when you fold it, or when you bend it, you get a big fold here, and it looks like a rubber glove or something. It's not the worst because it is sculpted underneath, but I think they could have been a little bit more delicate with that joint. It's not the best, but it also doesn't feel like it's gonna tear, so that's a good thing. When you bend the elbow, this part stretches some. I guess it could end up tearing. I don't know. I hope that's not a thing. I imagine this has been out for a little while, so I guess people would know by now. But I'm a little bit concerned about that elbow. All right, for the wrists, just a ball peg, which works nicely. So there is a seam, but you get good range. You don't have to worry about it tearing. So that's good. For the torso, this is pretty nice. It is a solid piece again, so it's got the whatever material it is on top and then some joints inside. There's some ratchets, but I don't know if you saw that. Only a few of them actually hold a position. It doesn't want to stay. So it's very limited what you can do, and it bunches up a lot. People have been asking me about this kind of body for smaller figures. I've been saying it's going to bunch. You're going to have limited range and it's going to bunch. And if it's true for this guy, it's certainly true for a 1/12 scale figure. Look at that bunch right there. And it can't hold the pose, so be aware of that. Side to side, it does also have some ratcheting, and of course that works, but it mostly is just shifting up here rather than really leaning him too much. So pretty limited. Rotation, same sort of situation. You get some, but it's fighting you and it doesn't do much. So his torso articulation is, might as well not be there, realistically speaking. For the hips, we're going to adjust the camera for the whole lower half, I guess. We're going to adjust the camera. And the cool thing is that we do actually have a seam here, which means the joints should work, and they are basically just big honkin' ball joints. So you can get the legs out to the side pretty far, like almost full-on splits. They do go forward. They technically have a drop down, which is nice in this case because it allows him to bring his leg up just a little bit farther, but it's not as far as I would like. It's still relatively limited. And it's not a bad drop down because it's nice and stiff and it doesn't change the position of the hip too much. Going back, not really happening because he does have some pretty serious butt cheeks going on. So relatively limited again. There is a little bit of a thigh swivel baked in, so that's okay. And then the knees work just like the elbows. They have decent range, ratchets built in, but the folding is serious. It looks like a guy in a rubber suit because it's kind of like a rubber suit over a plastic man. So it's not the best thing in the world, but you're going to get about 90 degrees. And then lastly, for articulation, the ankles are on ball pegs, and they actually work really nicely. No issues there. although they could have better range if there was a hinge built in. Being just a ball peg, it's a little bit more limited than I would like. Okay, so ultimately it's what I thought it was going to be. A Hot Toys figure, which means it looks good. Maybe not perfect, but it looks pretty good, but also can't pose all that well. So I'm going to give the articulation a rating of 6 out of 10. You can pose him, but not a whole lot. And I'm guessing most of you are okay with that. If you collect Hot Toys, it seems to me like you guys don't care that much about articulation, which, hey, that's fine. That's what they make. And if you like it, then that's good. But if you want a lot of posing to happen, I mean, this is the figure for it. It's basically just a naked dude. And if he can't pose, then nobody in all kinds of layers of clothing and everything's going to be able to pose very well. So you're going to have to decide what's important to you. This is not it if you want to pose him. If you just want it to stand there and look cool, then yeah, it'll do it. I'm going to give it a final rating of 7 out of 10. The lack of posability definitely kills this thing because they are action figures. I don't care if you guys want to make the argument that nobody poses them. That's not technically true. It might be almost true, but it still should be posable, and it's not in a lot of ways. Really cool accessories, good overall aesthetic, but it can't pose. So I'm going to leave it at 7. It's a solid buy, but again, it comes down to how much interactivity do you want, because it is going to be pretty limited. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.